Right, so we're in the middle of a big storm here, and this is a 24 to 12 volt inverter, and it kicks in, and the voltage into the system goes over 20 volts, and this is the voltage from the wind turbine at the moment. Just catch that there. It's hit 40 blood, Jesus. 40 volts, that's serious wind. This likes to stay around the voltage of the battery because the load pulls it down. Because the wind is so strong outside, I've never actually seen this on without the solar panel being included as well. The solar panel kicks out up to 20 volts. At the moment, you see there, the solar panel is giving me nothing. So basically what happens is I have the two inputs there off the wind turbine. They're going across this capacitor, which is I think it's a 470 microfarad. It's a big 200 volt one. I had the resistance going into the coil. There I'm getting, so that's the voltage off the solar panel. It's reading around 16 to 26 volts at the moment. So basically that's a 24 volt relay. I had to double the coil resistance, and when that voltage switches on the inverter up here, you might have heard it just click off there. Yeah, you see the LED is dimming, so the input's only 13 volts and that inverter's gone back to standard. I'm just waiting now for the wind to kick in a bit stronger. I'm only reading 14 at the moment, so it's still on its basic setting. I'll just get that back again. 14 now, it kicked in. So the coil resistance has zeroed, and it's switched on to the inverter side, which is basically the voltage is now gone into the back end of the relay, which is here. So that's reading 14 at the moment. The inverter's gone off. So yeah. So it's working well, this system at the moment. Very happy with it. See there the ammeter. Jesus Christ, 2.5 amps. I've never seen it hit that high before. Oh my god. That is serious wind outside. So, battery's up at 13.1. When I walked into the house earlier on, it was 12. It was actually 13, yeah. But I think the battery's only holding up to 12.7 because it drains down. This is now off. What's going on here? Hang on a sec. Right. Bad connection here now or something. Right, so I'm getting 10 volts in off the turbine, 14. That meter's not jumping like crazy anymore, thank god. The wind's not so bad. But yeah, I just said I'd come out. It's 2 o'clock in the morning over here. I heard that wind is really picking up. You can hear the bar of the turbine, which goes inside the other turbine, rattling away. And I basically put 2 diodes on the positive of each of the outputs there into the ammeter. The ammeter then feeds into the coil, and when the coil kicks in, the voltage goes into the other side and back up to the inverter here. This is the inverter cable, and then the input takes up to 32 volts. And that, when I came out, that was reading over 32 volts just a moment ago. Ammeter's moving away there a little bit, yeah. She's half an amp at 14.9 volts. The coil hasn't kicked in. The coil won't kick in till around 20 volts, so the wind has obviously died down a bit. Battery's up at 13 volts. I switch on a light behind me, run across the roof. It's just a little 7-watt bulb over there. That's on. That's just dumping a bit of load at the moment. Voltage is 13 volts with the battery. I'm going to bring that to 12.9. And look at this, our input voltage is 14.5. Diode, so it's obviously only 13. Kind of likes to only reach the maximum voltage of the battery, but when the wind and solar is kicking in nice, it kicks in the inverter there. So yeah, that's how I can measure the voltage at the battery. You see that flashing. She's up over 13, nearly 13.5 volts at the battery. So yeah, I'm gonna leave this overnight. I might. Yeah, there you go. There's the inverter switched on now. Red LED. So obviously my input voltage is up at 42 volts. Oh my god. 39 there. 30 going back down. Now it's going to click off. You hear it click and the LED dwindles. So she's back down at 14.5 now at the moment. So I'm very happy with this system. Very happy. Every volt that's coming in is being utilised in some way or another, bar when it's under the voltage of the battery. But with a solar panel and a wind turbine, unloaded that wind turbine will hit 70 volts. I imagine it would be hitting over 100 and something now with that wind outside without a load on it. But because the load, it's pulling it back down. So I have an inverter here. I'm going to switch that on. It's showing me 12.7. That's just connected up to this bank of plugs which I'm not using. So I might just leave that inverter on overnight. There's my battery in there, the orange one. And that input goes into the panel. There's a load output. I'll switch off the light. The inverter hasn't kicked in again. But yeah, well, I'm pretty happy with that. I'll try and get you a shot of the wind turbine in that wind. There's another big one I'm making. They're a meter, 1.1 meters long. Here's my hydrogen cell. I'm gonna play around with. I've had it on before and it was a bit crazy. Oh, hang on. Here's another little project I'm working on. It's for separating hydrogen and oxygen. Basically, you know yourself, one side is going to be producing hydrogen, the other side is going to be producing oxygen, and that's just to separate them. So they're going to funnel off, and hopefully someday they might go into my house heating. I'll just try and get you a look at this wind turbine if you can see it. The pole is moving quite a lot in the wind. About 8 meters long. But yeah, it's doing a lot of rocking and swaying. So, right, inverter's off, and sorry about the light levels in here. Flashing this phone isn't great. So at the moment we are reading 14 volts in, nearly half an amp there. I'm going to rise. You can tell by the wind, that bar rocking outside, how windy it is. So apparently we're getting 100 km/h, over 100 km winds, 60-70 mile an hour hitting out there in peaks and troughs and whatever. So yeah, but that's my circuit anyway. So basic enough. Seems to do the job. I've doubled the coil resistance to around 600, 700 ohms, and 300 from the factory. And I'll just give you a look at it there. It's the, let me get that in zoom. It's 24 volt DC, 40 to 30 amps. So I've seen my amp meter needle go up to nearly 3 amps there at one stage. So hopefully nothing blows up with the storm. But yeah, I'll let you know. There you go. Peace out.